not quite home and dry.
Pascal Airlines, race leader, under investigation for a technical infraction. That is big news for the story of the race.
The German crossed the line for what looked like a first Formula E win ahead of the two Audis.
We're just waiting to hear what has happened on that investigation.
The airline is disqualified. Technical infringement. Woo! Yeah!
De Grassi elated at a third win in Mexico ahead of Rast and Mortara in the final podium positions. After all the madness in Mexico, the Drivers' Championship is on a nice edge after round 8 in Puebla, with everything still up for grabs going into Sunday's race.
Oh, what a day yesterday really was. Alan, leave him alone. Leave him alone, not yet, Alan. We'll come
he's
to you
looking
in
for
just
my
a
wallet,
second.
I think.
It's always an absolute pleasure to share the pit with three-time Indy 500 champion Dario Franchitti. Dario, yesterday was an interesting race. We talked up the track here in Puebla yesterday. It delivered. It did everything we wanted it to do. But there was, like I said earlier on, a sprinkling of controversy in the fact that Pascal Airlines, who from the moment we went green to the very end was at the front, but he didn't win.
No, and he was dominant, Vern. You know, he had the start of the race, the safety cars restarts, he was dominant, even when he took attack mode. And he was just a sublime performance by him and Porsche yesterday. But from some crazy rule, they were taken away. And he drove the whole race, risked his car, risked himself, and then crossed the finish line and said, oh, by the way, you're disqualified. And it's confusing for us. Imagine how confusing it is for the viewers watching at home.
I know, exactly. And it was a disqualification for something that doesn't affect the performance of the car, which is really confusing. You know, my parents are avid Formula E fans, and they just debated for 45 minutes on the phone last night. Why? Why would this happen when it didn't affect his performance?
Yeah, I think the FIA need to work with the rules package, work with the teams to come up with a rules package that's not got a lot of trapdoors in it. Because yesterday, there was no performance advantage. They hit the wrong button, basically, when they were putting in this into the technical passport. The tyre numbers we're explaining this. We shouldn't have to do that. So imagine how bad Pascal and Porsche are feeling. So I'm looking forward to seeing their rebound today, because I think it's going to be spectacular.
Well, as always, as people do in today's age, Pascal took to social media and kind of vented, but he said he understood what the rule was, or he understood the situation, shall we say. But how do you rebuild that team in 24 hours? How do you get them set to race? Are they going to be deflated, or are they going to be more aggressive than ever?
I think you know the answer to that. They're going to be so aggressive. I mean,
I'm speaking to yourself, Dario.
Emil Lindsay, that whole group, Pascal Zerlinden, those guys, they're a team of racers. And they're going to go back today. They're going, right, how do we attack? How do we do that? Pascal Verlaine's going to go, I'm going to show you guys that we deserved to win yesterday. We're going to do it again today.
I love Emil Lindsay because he is such an intimidating character.
Yes, he is.
You know, he's taller than me, he's a big lad, and you don't want to get on the wrong side of him. So I imagine they're going to come out firing today.
Absolutely right.
Let's go to the flip side of the coin. Celebration for Audi, real celebration, and congratulations to Alan. We saw him earlier on. We'll talk to him a little bit later on, but I've just had word that Emil Lindsay is actually going to talk to us. He's with Nicky Shields.
Emil Lindsay, brilliant to see you here. Thanks for speaking to us, because I think you probably went from the highest point of your career to the lowest point of your career yesterday. How do you think it should have been dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, how it should have been dealt with. I think, you know, administrative mistake on behalf of the team, being disqualified is rather harsh. I think financial penalty would have been, you know, more on the cards. You know, we appealed the decision, and we have to go along the lines of this appeal now. It won't be sorted out today. But yeah, I mean, excessive punishment for, you know, a tap of a key the wrong way. So yeah.
Really, really difficult. What are the emotions? What's the atmosphere like within the team today? Because obviously we go racing again today. It must be quite difficult to pick yourself up and go again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the team obviously was quite down straight after the race yesterday, but you know, we spoke with everybody and said, look, you know, the result was fantastic yesterday. You know, we showed what we can do it, and keep the heads up, and we, you know, stay positive. And today's a new day, and we'll do our best today.
And what about Pascal? How's he feeling? Because, you know, we did hear him sort of vent his anger. You know, has he managed to put it behind him?
Yeah, the heat of the moment, it's always quite hard. Yeah, you know, he stepped on it. I think you always need to sleep on these things before you should come out and talk. But no, I mean, you know, he's got it behind him, and we need to look forward. Yeah.
Well, one thing that no one can take away is the phenomenal performance that you, Pascal, the rest of the team put in yesterday, and we'll be fingers crossed for another pole position for Pascal Airlines and the team. Thank you very much, Emil, Lindsay. Back to you, Vernon.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, we're joined by Alan McNish, the team principal here at Audi Sport at Scheffler. We just heard from Emil that he's going to appeal. How does that affect you guys? Or does it affect you guys? Or are you not that interested?
I think, you know, it's very difficult, and I feel really sorry for Porsche, but also especially for Pascal, because they did do a very good race. The rules are the rules, and it's quite clear we have to go through a process. And in fact, a very similar thing hit us in my first race, in our first race in Hong Kong in season 4, and we were disqualified.
With the inverter, it was an inverter.
It was an inverter, and it was actually just the one number on a barcode that was incorrect. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, and it hit Nissan as well for exactly the same thing. It's a tough one, but right now, you know, we enjoyed last night. We enjoyed the first and second. It was a great points haul for the championship, and we know though that today's a different day. The track's a little bit different, and every other team is wanted to make sure that they take us off the top block.
Alan, having been in that situation in Hong Kong, how do you rebuild a team from that for the very next day?
It's super tough because
Come on, big
you know
guy.
what it's like, Dario. When you win a race, it's such elation. And then when it gets taken away, it's just your stomach drops and everybody is so low about it. And you just have to pick yourself up. You know, our parents were always very good at telling us that what's behind you is history, you can't change it. You can only change what's ahead of you. And right now, for everybody, it's on the exact line.
Alan, two very impressive performances, though. Let's not shy away from that, from your boys. I mean, Rast in particular, absolutely stunning. De Grassi took the win. It gives you confidence, I guess, to go again today.
Look, we've been quick all year. We knew we had a very good car. We knew we were extremely energy efficient. We know that Rennie's super good at that. And Lucas always just gets his elbows out and comes through. So it was a case of just being able to put it together to deliver the result we knew was there.
How do you turn this car from a car with race pace to a qualifying car? Because that seems to be the issue at the moment.
We worked quite hard on
Vernon.
that. Funnily enough, you know, between Monaco and now, that's been really one of our focuses. I don't think yesterday we qualified particularly well. I think it was difficult here, people making a lot of mistakes, but it put us into the place where we could fight, and that was the thing.
Excuse me, how much has the track changed from yesterday to today? Excuse me.
Well, you know, you can see by free practice 3 the times were just so much quicker. It's also hotter, it's 46-degree track temperature now. It's fully Scotland weather right as we stand. But, you know, I think that Group 1's going to be tough, and you're going to see that for all the people there, but we're looking forward to qualifying.
All right, thank you, Alan. You go and get your Factor 50 on, and let's take a closer look at the track here in Puebla for the second time this weekend.
Welcome to Puebla, Mexico. Let's take a closer look at this 3-kilometer, 15-turn circuit. Turn 1 has a lot of challenges. A long straight approaching it, so high speed, it's a wide and very bumpy braking zone. But as the driver starts to turn in, it's very difficult to actually pick out the apex, and the rest of the corner is completely blind.
The apex wall in turn 1 will require pinpoint accuracy, and the track narrows down on exit. This should be fairly spicy on lap 1. Turn 2 is a sweeping right-hander.
Turn 3 is all about setting up for braking with turn 4, where the drivers are going to be turning as they brake and regenerating as much energy into the battery as possible. It's a long, long corner from here to the straight to turn 5. Very easy to gain or lose a lot of time.
In turn 5, you'll be as wide as possible to set up for turn 6, where you need to carry as much speed as possible while using the minimum amount of road on exit, so you can be in the correct position for turn 7.
This is a driver's view. Completely blind entry again. The apex is a wall, so if you get it slightly wrong, wipe the right side of the car off on the apex wall. But if you get it wrong on exit, there's about a foot of grass. And then another wall. There is absolutely no margin for error in this fairly quick corner. Turn 8 is another one of these long corners that we see at Puebla, with the wall being the apex very late in the corner, off camber, difficult corner. But then you consider that Formula E have put the attack mode activation zone not on the outside of the corner as normal, but on a completely different part of the circuit, a whole new piece of circuit. So the time loss, if you take attack mode, is going to be massive.
Cars re-entering the circuit from attack mode will have much higher speed, so look out for contact where they merge. The short straight up to 10, heavy braking for 11, off the oval again. Long turn 13 sets up for 14.
Turn 14, another one of those long corners, apex somewhere about there. But this is the critical point of the track, is how early you can get back to throttle, because now you're flat out all the way around turn 15 to turn 1. Any pass you want to make in turn 1 starts right here. Turn 15 is a heavily banked, long oval corner. The fast way through here is to get as close to the white line as possible, but that puts tremendous amount of load on the right-hand side tyres, and by this point they're going to be really upset. One thing I learned at Iowa Speedway quite a few years ago was if you move up a little bit, especially in the race, you put less steering into the car, less load, it's going to allow the tyre to live longer for that race, 45 minutes plus 1 lap.
Turn 15 leads on to the long start-finish straight to complete a lap of this very technical Puebla track.
So we've seen the team principals are fired up. The drivers are charged up. They are ready to go. It's time for qualifying here for the second time in Puebla. Let's go over to our commentators, Dario Franchitti and Jack Nicholls.
Here we go then, round 9 qualifying of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship for the CBMM Niobium Puebla E-Prix. Very much looking forward to this one. I think we're in for a very, very interesting hour or so of on-track action. And these are the drivers that will be out in Group 1. Robin Freins, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick de Vries, René Rast, Mitch Evans and Stoffel van Dorn. The top 6 in the championship. Nick de Vries was very, very quick in the third free practice session that we had earlier on today, so he has a shot of potentially getting into Super Pole, but it all just depends what pans out in these opening 4 minutes of Group 1, because it's all about the battle to be in the right place on the track at the right time. Dario Franchitti.
No, absolutely, Jack, and the track temperature is massive. It's so hot out there, and we saw that yesterday with Group 3. Actually, the cloud went away, the sun came out, and the speed went away from the track in a hurry. The sun's been beating on this track. It's going to be very, very low grip, and the Group 1 guys, if they can't sort of do a clean lap, they don't want to be first out on track. If they can't do that, there's some professional fouls going on. They're trying to basically stop the other guys having a clean lap behind them, shall we say.
Yeah, well, earlier on, to try and get to the bottom of this, I caught up with Mike Lugg, the technical director at Envision Virgin Racing, to ask why are we seeing this Group 1 chaos all of the time?
I guess the tricky thing is track evolution. So the track starts pretty dusty, dirty, there's gravel, maybe damp from a bit of rain. So the first car's at a disadvantage, and that gets better and better as the session goes on and more cars clean the track. So it's better to be the last car out. So Group 1 especially, you want to be the last car, so there's a few cars in front cleaning the track.
Okay, so that all makes sense in principle, but then in practice, it feels like every week it's carnage and it's chaos and no one gets to do a good lap. So I'm sure we look at it, everyone at home probably looks at it, why bother? Why bother getting involved in these games and playing the fight? Does that cross your mind, or can you just not afford to?
Yeah, definitely. I guess if you go out early, you're guaranteed to be 13th, 14th, 15th at best. So if you push it to the end, you take a gamble to maybe get into Super Pole or at least inside the top 10. The downside is, like yesterday, you might be right at the back, not getting a clean lap.
So that kind of sums it up. Like, you think, and we all sit here watching, just get on with it, and they are going out now onto the track, but the difficult part is you're with your championship rivals. So if you go out first and clean the track for them, you'll start at the back, and all your rivals are going to start at the front. And so they go into every single session, these Group 1 drivers, knowing that we're about to see some nonsense, and then that we're going to have nonsense for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, and this is the rules that are written, and the teams are really reacting the only way they can. And if they you say, well, why don't you just wait later? Well, the problem is then the checkered flag comes out, you don't actually get to do your lap at all. So that's the constant gamble that they're taking, and it's something that needs to be looked at. And I'm sure the FIA will, and the teams I know are pushing the FIA to fix it for next season, Season 8. We see René Rast is the track sweeper right now. The track is in a lot better condition than it was yesterday, obviously, because we ran a whole event. Rained overnight, though. Some track repairs went on between the end of free practice 3 this morning and this qualifying session. Now, hang on. One of the Mercedes, Nick de Vries, went out into the marbles there. That's not going to help his tyre preparation at all, but you see René Rast now back in the field up.
So this is the thing, René Rast went out first. It's about the same time as yesterday, but he's now going to want someone to overtake him. So everyone will start backing up. No one's going to want to overtake him. And here we go then. And the Mercedes are at the back of the queue. Here they are. And you don't want to lose ground. Okay, so De Vries is on a bit of a push now. And is he just going for it here, or he's going up to second place? So that's bold stuff from De Vries. Van Doorn's trying to do the same thing. I spoke to Mercedes because they've often this year not been involved in this stuff. They've just got on with it. Whereas today, they're like, and yesterday, they can't afford not to. Here we go again, down into turn 12.
And we just saw the Mercedes turn it up to full power. You can do that in the last sector of the lap, 250 kilowatts. You hear the wheel spin.
Right, but here we go. Coming onto the banking, Rast is still first. We've got 18 seconds left, and Freitz has just been told, you've got to get on with this, and he goes to the outside, and he times that very nicely there, Robin Freitz. And I tell you what, Van Doorn and Da Costa are going to be quite slow across the line here at the start of this, because they had to back off. 3, 2, 1, they make it across the line, but Van Doorn and Da Costa are not going to be in a good place to start this lap. Van Doorn and Da Costa fighting and contact into the first corner. So I think overall, Robin Freitz has timed that quite nicely, but René Rast, despite all of that, was the first guy on track and he's off. Rast has just made a mistake.
Yep, big mistake.
So René Rast was the track sweeper. Now he's made a mistake and lost a load of time. Mitch Evans is now the track sweeper, out in front as he slides through turn 7. Fastest first sector goes to Robin Freitz by a huge margin. Half a second quicker pretty much than anyone else out there. But he's going to catch up all these drivers who are going slower than him.
And they just put the drivers really in an impossible position. I mean, just look how much dust and dirt has accumulated on the track in the couple of hours since the end of practice. Mitch Evans, though, being the track sweeper, leading the way, and he's just thought, I've got to go for it. I've got to try and do whatever I can. They've got to get into the top 6 of group qualifying to have a chance at Super Pole. But right now, I think a top 10 would be that would be like winning the gold medal.
Da Costa's got a good middle sector. Freitz is now getting held up behind René Rast, who's struggling, and they're all queuing up behind Rast, who's got no grip. Here they come out of the final corner. I'm not going to call them across the line. Just keep your eyes on the top left, and the order will pop up pretty much instantaneously. Here we go then. Ping, 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 ping. And it's Van Doorn that is quickest in all of that. So a slow first sector for Van Doorn. Evans, De Vries, Freitz, Da Costa and Rast. So much variance in pace. Freitz lost 0.6 compared to De Vries in the final sector because he was caught up behind René Rast, who had no speed at all. Carnage again, but good for Mercedes. Rast was 3 seconds. Obviously, he went off the track, so that accumulates for that, but tough times for Audi.
If it's frustrating for us, imagine how frustrating it is for the teams and the drivers out on track. I mean, the circuit's heated up, so there will be some time loss because of that, but most of it really is I think the dirt on the track and the shenanigans going on.
So at this point, Freitz looks like he's in the box seat, and he did the fastest first sector of anyone. But Rast was struggling so much that he backed De Vries up into Freitz, and here's when Rast went off at 3.
Oh, I mean, really, look, fantastic car control from René Rast. That's on maximum lock. He's got no more to give. Look at the black lines at left. Well, I mean, well done just holding it. But then, of course, Mitch Evans thinking, no, get out of my way.
And Rast is on the grass here, about to kind of pile back onto the racetrack, the wet grass.
And what Mitch Evans is thinking is he going to T-bone me when I get to the apex of turn 4? But, well held, great car control, and keeping the car under control from René Rast. Just doing an impression of a lawnmower there.
Well, there we go. Another chaotic first group of qualifying.
And he's under investigation for leaving the track. Okay. I don't think he gained an advantage. What do you reckon, Jen?
No, indeed. But the rules are if you leave the track and incomplete the lap, then it can be deleted. But
deleted from last.
But there is no. I don't believe there's kind of track limits rules, specifically in place at turn 3.
He touched the white line and the car just shot sideways. But at this point, Pierre De Vries is just thinking, get out of the way! And he's pushed De Vries wide, not really intentionally, he's trying to get his qualifying lap going.
De Vries would have lost so much time getting pushed wide there.
Absolutely.
But he's still third quickest. You take all of the best sectors from that, and you get a 24.3. And the quickest time we see is a 1:24.7. So Van Doorn quickest, Evans second, De Vries third, Freitz fourth, Da Costa 5th, René Rast in 6th position. So an absolutely fascinating first part of qualifying, but how quick are those lap times going to be as we head to Group 2 in a couple of moments?
So, Ian James, you've just seen both your drivers go out in the first group. Stoffel van Dorn doing really well, and also Nick, of course, was at the top of the timings in FP3.
Yeah, another chaotic quali Group 1, but for Stoffel, obviously great to see him at the top at the moment. I'm not quite sure how that's all going to play out when we see the other quali groups going out and whether they start to trip over each other, but it just goes to show how I think the back end of the season, each time they go out, is going to be a real dogfight.
I mean, yesterday you managed to, continue your advantage at the top of the team's championship, and Stoffel did an amazing job from 21st to finishing 7th.
Yeah, both drivers, Stoffel and Nick, and the team managed the race beautifully, and I think we got out of it just about what we were able to, considering we started so far back. Again, going to be really interesting to see where we start today after that. I think Nick was unfortunately impeded. I think there was more speed in it, and we saw how quick he was in FP3 as well. So if we can now translate that to the race, anything's possible.
All right, well, let's find out what happens in Group 2. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nikki.
Ian James, then team principal of Mercedes EQ. Next up, this man, Sam Bird, who is buzzing to be out not in Group 1 because it's the first time for Sam Bird since the second race of the season in Diriyah that he's not been in Group 1. He qualified 3rd on the grid and won the race, so we'll see what he can do here in the Jaguar. You can hear cars going out already. Mortara heading out with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Beautiful sunny day here in Puebla today, which I'm very much enjoying.
Yeah, and if you can time it, just by pure luck actually, when the clouds, if the cloud cover comes over, the track temperature would drop and it would give one of these groups a massive advantage on the other, even more so than the track evolution with the Group 1 shenanigans. Alexander Sims in the Mahindra, Group 2 for the first time this season, heading out on track. Although was he in Group 2 in Diriyah first race?
Who, sorry?
Alexander Sims.
Alexander Sims. He was in Group 3 in Diriyah for the first race. He was in Group 2 for the second race. And now all the drivers join the circuit. Jean-Eric Verne. 5 of the 6 drivers in Super Bowl yesterday came from Group 2.
Yeah, again, that was a lot to do with when the sun popped out for Group 3, really. But it also seemed very difficult for the drivers to stay within the grip limits of the tyres. A lot of guys saying, "Oh, I overdrove." The grip was a lot less than I was expecting because the first and second practice is held earlier in the day than qualifying. So we're probably going to see some of that as well. See who manages those difficulties best.
Van Dorn felt they left a second out there on track, which is about right, really. If you take the best sectors, you've at least got 4 tenths, but yeah.
Well, one of them, Mercedes, got a little shove in turn 1. That would have helped them go faster.
Absolutely. So qualifying Group 2 is underway. We have got Sims, Dennis, Verne, Mortara, De Grassi and Bird out there on the circuit. They're about to start their flying laps. Lucas De Grassi, the race winner from yesterday, turns it up to full power. He was telling us before the session started that they've been working a lot on trying to get more qualifying pace in that Audi. Sims is the first driver across the line as he comes down towards turn 1.
And these laps really start on the exit of 14 and how you get the power down to carry the speed, because whatever speed you carry out of 14 goes all the way to that braking zone of turn 1. Well, see Jake Dennis going through 1 now, not too wide because the track was breaking up a little bit there earlier. Up against the wall, and 2, just as soon as you're through 3, you're trying to brake for 4 already. We saw René Rast make a mistake there in Group 1. Back to the throttle, back into the BMW. Andretti looks pretty good through there so far. Minor corrections.
Sims is a bit down on Van Dorn, but Jake Dennis is 7 tenths up on Stoffel Van Dorn. Verne is well up, so Sims is not having a good run, but Jake Dennis absolutely flying in the first sector.
That BMW looked great through the first sector, Jack. The question is, will it overheat the tyres on the second part of the lap? That looks great so far. Look at the way it's putting the power down and just no snap to oversteer as he brakes for turn 11. This has been tricky, certainly yesterday's event. There's all kinds of things going on. Nice and neat and tidy again.
Qualified 3rd yesterday, Jake Dennis. Ended up 5th, which the team were fairly happy with, considering he got out of sync with attack modes, and he's looking good here.
He's a 2nd up at the moment. So
Jean-Eric Verne's done a good middle sector as well, though, so Dennis and Verne are pretty much neck and neck after the first 2 sectors.
This is a beautiful lap from Jake Dennis. Not spectacular at all, but fast, and that is all that matters. They don't reward any points for style.
Checker flag falls then for Alexander Sims. He goes quickest by half a second, but then you have Dennis, who does a 22.8. Here comes Jean-Eric Verne, and Verne goes second, 4/10 away. Dennis's final sector was rapid as well. Eduardo Mortara slots into third position. Here comes Sam Bird in the Jaguar, only sixth for Sam Bird. 1.4 seconds off the pace of Jake Dennis. That is going to be a real head-scratcher. In fact, well, it was a huge chunk in Sector 1 and a huge chunk in Sector 3. That's a real head-scratcher for the Jaguar team.
Yeah, not sure what happened there at all, Jack. You expect big things out of Sam Bird. Did he make a mistake, or was he just caught out by the lack of grip? Jake Dennis, though, nearly 4/10 up the road from Jean-Eric Verne. And Jean-Eric is a qualifying master, so phenomenal job from Jake Dennis. Neat and a tidy lap.
Dennis joked yesterday he's still getting to know the championship. He still doesn't know half of it, he said. But this is the first track where, being a rookie, everybody's in the same boat, learning the track. He's still learning the car, but had a pretty solid free practice earlier on today and looked absolutely hooked up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Super slow-mo, using the curb a bit to cut the angle of the corner down, but just watch his hands as he comes out of turn 4. There's no big correction as he leaves the shot. Yeah, that BMW was, especially through that first sector, was absolutely lovely.
So halfway through the group part of qualifying, and Jake Dennis is at the top. Verne, Mortara, De Grassa, Sims and Bird, but there's 1.4 seconds separating that group. There's a huge gap in which drivers could slot in. Audi are in for a tough afternoon, I think. You've got Van Dorn there already missing out on Superpole. And Alexander Sims in 5th position, ahead of Sam Bird after the first half of the cars. And in Group 3, we've got the front row starters from yesterday, Pascal Wehrlein and Oliver Rowland. You've got Alex Lynn, who has a pole in his past. Max Gunther in the other BMW I Andretti. Nick Cassidy was fairly happy with his first free practice session, and Andre Lotterer in there as well. And then you've got the likes of Buemi in Group 4. So there is Max Gunther, but let's go down to Nicky Shields.
James Barclay, team principal of Jaguar Racing. Obviously, Sam Bird, I think, was quite happy to be in Group 2, but slightly off the pace. Do you know what happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, just hearing Sam on the radio there, it sounds like he had a moment at turn 1, and that put him onto the rubber, and there's some damp patches there, and that, yeah, he lost 8 turns Sector 1, so that was kind of unfortunately lap done, and then similar moment in the final sector. So we'll have a look at it. It's a shame because obviously that's a good opportunity to capitalise, but listen, we never give up. Long race today, and you know, Sam's shown he can come through the field really well, so we'll have to dig deep and focus on the race now.
Yeah, how's he feeling? Because obviously after yesterday being taken out of the race after the activation zone, I mean, that's quite a tough one. Has he picked himself up from that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was frustrating because he'd made amazing progress at that point, and you know, Mitch as well. And so unfortunately that incident, you know, hurt us twice, with firstly taking Sam at the race and secondly affecting Mitch because he had to take his second attack under the safety car. So it was a worst timing for us yesterday. But yeah, it's a new day. You have to reset and just focus on today, and that's what we'll do.
Excellent. Thanks very much, James Barclay.
Thanks.
So James Barclay, racing director of Jaguar Racing, and tough one. Bird 6th at the moment, Evans 8th. And as I sort of mentioned at the start of this, Bird was kind of excited not to be in Group 1, but made a mistake at turn 1, as James Barclay pointed out. There is Pascal Wehrlein, who started on pole yesterday. And how hard is it hard to reset and go again today and completely wipe yesterday out of your mind, or are you just so used to doing it?
I think you're used to doing it. I also think that his biggest problem today is going to be trying to control his motivation. I would say not trying to sort of give 110%, just do what he did yesterday, drive within the limits, because your temptation is to push harder and harder, try harder, and that doesn't, you know, especially in a low grip track like we have here in Puebla, that's not rewarded. So I think, yeah, the Porsche guys, Pascal Wehrlein, that they'll be absolutely fine today.
Gunther about to leave the pit lane.
I wouldn't be surprised if any of the drivers in Group 3 were on pole position for this afternoon's race. The one question is bizarrely Andre Lotterer as the cars start to leave the garage. Andre's really been struggling here with this low grip layout. He's just not been at home.
So the cars heading out for their outlap. James Barclay mentioned a couple of moments ago that Sam Bird made a mistake at turn 1. This is what happened to him in driver's eye, coming into the first corner.
Oh, he locked the rear tyres. You saw the correction of opposite, turning right, going into left-hander. That's, to that degree, is never a good thing.
And then, as Barkley said, he goes onto the outside where there's all the sort of mud and nonsense, which then gets on your tyres and affects you for a good few corners, I guess.
Absolutely right. And there's new tarmac was laid pretty recently, so that's obviously gone on the tyres. See Max Günther just trying to get the tyres into their operating window. Had a great race going yesterday and then faded towards the end. What was, I saw you talking to Roger Griffiths, the team principal at BMW Andretti.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, no, you did, and I asked him, Günther was over-consuming. So him and Dennis were running together, but he had less energy than Dennis, so Dennis was able to stay up the front. Günther started sliding backwards and was struggling with his brakes as well, which is why he locked up and lost places at the end when he was fighting with Da Costa.
And there's Nick Cassidy on screen, and he crashed right there yesterday, and the Envision Virgin mechanics and team built a whole new car last night because the tub, the survival cell that he sits in, was damaged.
Up till 4 a.m.
Yeah, fantastic job from the team to do that, and then back to work today.
So here comes Günther, looking for another Super Pole appearance. He's been in Super Pole 5 times in the 8 races so far this season, which is quite a remarkable record for Max Günther. And let's see if he can do the same.
The BMW, as we go on driver's eye, the BMW really absorbed the bumps in turn 15. He gets to the apex of 1, lovely, neat, tidy. You can hear the dirt on the under the wheel arches there as he comes out to 1, setting up really through 3, but setting up for 4. Neat, tidy so far. See how this is where Jake Dennis's car was really good. Oh, a bit more oversteer for Max Günther. Does that mean because he went to the throttle earlier, or is the car not as good? We'll see in the first split.
2 tenths away from Jake Dennis in sector 1.
Oh,
whoop.
Big oversteer in 7 as well. The back end of the car is not nearly as tied down as Jake Dennis's teammates was. Again, off of 8. And that, the rear tyres are just going to get worse. That oversteer is going to get worse as they just keep getting heated up on every corner exit as the lap goes on.
Lotter is half a second away in the first sector from Jake Dennis's time. Nick Cassidy is 2 tenths of a second away from Jake Dennis's time. And the same is true of Wehrlein and Lynn. Günther's a second away from Dennis in the first 2 sectors.
Here we go through 13. This is when this next corner is absolutely critical to just get every position that you possibly can. Let's see how he goes back to throttle, and the banking of the oval comes on. Let's see how much he's got to fight with the car through 15. So far good, didn't bottom out. Yeah, not really a snap of oversteer. The BMW is very good through 15. That'll be the Andretti team's oval knowledge going to work there. And P4 for Max Günther.
So Günther goes 4th, does the fastest final sector of anyone, but Lynn and Cassidy are looking good, as is Oliver Rowland. So I think Lynn, Cassidy and Rowland are the drivers that might be able to get up into Super Pole. Here comes Andre Lotterer across the line, and the Porsche driver goes 4th. Here comes Nick Cassidy for Envision Virgin Racing, and he now goes up into 4th, nudging Lotterer down a little. Pascal Wehrlein, pole sitter yesterday, goes 3rd, and then we have Lynn go 3rd, so Wehrlein's down to 4th, and now Oliver Rowland 2nd. So Rowland 2 tenths away from Jake Dennis. Cassidy is nudged out of Super Pole. Lotterer, Günther, De Grassi all drop down the field. And that is the top 6 at the moment. A good lap again from Oliver Rowland, quickest in his group as he has been so often this season. But none of them could beat Jake Dennis, who's on a mission this weekend.
Yeah, another good performance from Jake Dennis. And if that was our Super Pole top 6, which I'm probably betting it won't be, judging by some of the characters in Group 4, it'd be a heck of a fight for the pole position, bearing in mind that the tyres will not be in their sweet operating window. They've already had 1 heat cycle through them already in group qualifying. Let's see Max Günther. Comes through turn 7. That's why he got oversteer, because he got oversteer and then he got in the grass, and trust me, there's less grip on the grass than there is on the tarmac, even this tarmac.
That's why we hire you.
See, for those insights,
like that,
yeah. And we say it's low grip and stuff. That's a good thing. This circuit is a challenge. It's bumpy, it's old tarmac. That makes it a challenge. That's what we do in Formula E.
So, 18 drivers down, 6 to go. And Jake Dennis is the quickest at the moment, but it's all about being in the top 6 to advance through to Super Pole. Rowland, Verne, Lynn, Wehrlein and Mortara with them at the moment, but there are the championship protagonists again. Freintz down in 16th, just behind Nick de Vries in 15th, Evans 14th, Van Dorn 13th. Another mixed up race coming up for you this afternoon, and we've still got 6 more drivers to come in this part of qualifying. So Turvey, Sette Camera, Buemi, Nato, Blomqvist and Ericsson. You got to be looking at Buemi here, I think. Wasn't mega fast yesterday, but they changed a load of parts. That's Jake Dennis, who's quickest at the moment. Maybe Nato in the Venturi has shown flashes this season, so has Sergio Sette Camera, but the Dragon has dropped off the pace a little.
Yeah, my money would definitely be Norman Nato's a good bet, isn't he?
Apologies for Jake Dennis's language there.
Do something funny.
Thanks, Jake. Sebastian Buemi, he's all-time pole-sitting record in Formula. Look at that, 14 pole positions, but he's struggled of late.
Well, his last pole position.
Jack's getting the notes out.
His last pole position was 20 races ago in New York in July 2019.
God, wasn't the world a different place then?
Yeah.
Tom Blomqvist. Yeah, the Neo guys had a decent run yesterday. Didn't get any points out of it, but they had a decent run.
Norman Nato, who has had some good qualifyings. Topped group qualifying in Rome, ended up qualifying second on the grid, made it to Superpole in the second race in Valencia, and ended up running towards the front of the order before contact with someone at turn 9.
Alex Lynn.
Alex Lynn, that was it. Gave him a 5-second time penalty. And there's Sergio Sette Camera, who's, you know, win it or bin it in qualifying, really, isn't he?
He's absolutely, that's his attitude. You know, the Dragon Penske team, they have been struggling a little bit. They had that great result in Saudi, the 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
And his teammate, who's not here this weekend, Nico Muller, had that 2nd place, but they have struggled a bit. And Sergio Sette Camera is trying to make up for maybe some of that with just the ultimate high wire act. And it's worked sometimes, and other times it hasn't. You see that onto the right, towards the right side of your screen, at his left eye. That's the driver's eye view. That's where the camera is. So it really is. It is driver's eye. It's right at his eye line.
Let's go to Nicky.
No, Superpole. So I'm here with Emil Lindsay from Porsche. What are your thoughts? Can we see Pascal Airlines get into Superpole?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, P5 now. We'll see shortly if it's enough. Lap was not too bad. Yeah, we had a little bit more of an issue with the rears and compared to FP3, but yeah, it was not a bad lap. Let's see where we are for Superpole. So now, cars are going out now, so
exactly.
Fingers crossed.
I'll let you get back to work. Thanks very much, Emil.
So Emil Lindsay fairly happy with Wehrlein in 5th position. Can he hang on in the Superpole spots? We'll see in a couple of moments' time. So this is the top 6 at the moment. Dennis, Roland, Vernlin, Wehrlein and Mortara will advance through to Superpole unless Sette Camera, Turvey, Blomqvist, Buemi, Nato or Ericsson can stop them. Simples.
Dead easy.
Yeah.
You think of all the decisions that these drivers have got to make on this qualifying lap. They've got to brake at exactly the right point. They've got to get off the brakes, feel the grip level of the car, respond accordingly in each of these different corners. And the track is so different than anything they've seen this morning or yesterday. So it's so easy to underdo it, or in most cases overdo it, and just not get the lap time out of the car. That's why these guys really get the big bucks.
Yeah. It's Norman Nato in the Rocket Venturi, coming down towards the right-hander of turn 8.
They're trying to bring the tyres into their operating window. And some guys yesterday in qualifying said we just didn't get them in the operating window. When that happens, you'll hear the chirping of the tyres a lot as they go through some of the corners. That's when you can tell.
René Rast has had his lap time deleted because of this unsafe rejoin. So he went off at turn 3 and then rejoined the track. I mean, I don't know where else he was meant to go, but it's a sort of fair enough decision. It doesn't really matter anyway because he was a long way off the pace. So there we go. René Rast will be starting at the back of the grid. Here comes Sergio Sette Camera, the Brazilian from Belo Horizonte, coming through the right-hander now where Rast went off right up towards the wall. He actually clipped that inside wall earlier on today, Sette Camera, but manages to avoid it this time.
Yeah, he's trying to open up the entry to turn 4, but it looks good so far. Whether it's quick or not, I don't know, but it looks really nicely balanced.
It's not. He's half a second off the pace of Jake Dennis, but there's a big gap. The top 6 are separated by 0.4 of a second, so there is margin in there for someone to slot into and nick a position. Here's Tom Blomqvist.
Yeah, Tom Blomqvist is a bit wide in turn 1 already. He's Norman Nato. He's one of the guys that could really spoil the top 6 party at the moment. Neat and tidy off at 1 though. It's good through there.
Turvey a second away in the first sector. Blomqvist only 4/10 away, so Turvey's made a big mistake in sector 1, and Blomqvist hasn't been too bad. Sede Camera coming through the middle sector. And Nato is 4/10 away in sector 1, as is Buemi. So Buemi still just absolutely lacking pace. And even though they changed a load of parts in his car yesterday, here comes Sergio Sede Camera across the line. It's 13th place for the Brazilian. Next up is going to be Turvey. Oh, there's evidence that he's hit something.
Yeah, but there's no marks on the side of the car, so that's an odd one. Normally you see a bit of bodywork damage.
Here he comes through the final corner, Oliver Turvey. Joel Eriksson is 2 seconds down after the middle sector, so he's had a moment out there. Turvey goes 17th ahead of Freins and Da Costa. Here comes Tom Blomqvist in the other Neo 333 car, and he goes up into 8th place.
Good job,
Big lap,
Tom.
that from Tom Blomqvist.
Nice
very,
job, Tom
very
Blomqvist.
good.
Very good.
Eriksson goes 21st. We've just got Nato and Buemi to come. Here comes Norman Nato, 11th place, and Sebastian Buemi in the Nissan Edams, 7th. Just missing out on Superpole by a couple of tenths, admittedly, but that's a bit more like it for Sebastian Buemi. And actually, his second and third sectors were competitive. He lost half a second to Dennis in sector 1, but no. One of the finest points, says Jake Dennis, because
he is funny, isn't he?
Because he's got a point for topping group qualifying.
Sebastian Buemi, though, he's in striking distance today. The performance, the Nissan car is good enough to win the race, and he's in striking distance with that 7th place.
I think Sergio Sede Camera hit the wall out there somewhere and lost a chunk of time. So Sebastian Buemi then starting in 7th position, as you say, in the top 10 again. So often this season, Nissan have had both cars in the top 10. Roland and Buemi, I think, from the third race in Valencia, sorry, the 2 Rome races and the 2 Valencia races, they were in the top 10, both cars. They've had the car in the top 10 in every race so far this season.
I mean, yesterday was purely bad luck, I'd say, but they've both got the potential to win today.
So, Dennis, Roland, Vern Lynn, Verline and Mortara, the 6 drivers that are going through to Superpole. Sebastian Buemi will start 7th on the grid. Nick Cassidy in 8th position, 9th for Tom Blomqvist, 10th for Andre Lotterer, Gunter and Nato, the rest of the top 12. And then Lucas Di Grassi, yesterday's winner, 13th on the grid, so didn't slip down that far. Obviously, he's still a long way off, but he's in striking range of some decent points. Sam Bird will be so frustrated in 15th, and then all the championship contenders. Freins down in 21st place, the championship leader.
Jay Dennis, another Superpole session for you. I mean, that was a phenomenal lap.
Yeah, it was mega. Sort of surprised myself when I saw the lap time on the dash, you know. I think I went 3 or 4 seconds quicker than what I did in practice, because practice we just didn't get a lap. And yeah, we turned it around. You know, the boys have done a good job and fixed our issues from this morning. And yeah, we're now starting Superpole last. So that's going to be, yeah, eyes on the prize.
What were your issues from this morning?
Driving. No, I kept making mistakes. Mistakes in traffic.
Honest, I like it.
Yeah, I just made a few mistakes and got a bit unfortunate with traffic, and we've turned it around. The car was always good, so we were purple in sector 1 in practice. So I knew I had the confidence going in. Yeah, we turned it around to do a clean running qualifying.
Brilliant. All right, we'll keep it clean in Superpole. Thanks very much, Jake Dennis.
So Jake Dennis will be last out in Superpole. His tyres will be coolest. He was out in Group 2 as well, so his tyres will definitely be the coolest. And he's got a good shot here at a second pole position, Jake Dennis.
Absolutely. You might be sitting at home thinking, well, it's just a couple of minutes difference in cooling the tyres down. Every tiny bit matters here. The margins of it that these teams are dealing with are tiny. Let's go on board just behind the right front wheel with Jake Dennis.
Here we come into the first corner. Look at all the dirt and mud that you're trying to avoid on the outside. That's what Sam Bird got stuck in the mud. And no one was there to run through his legs.
Look how close he got.
Through Sam Bird's legs, actually. You'd have to really crawl.
And every time you see the front tyre, the wheel going the opposite direction, just like that, that's him controlling the rear of the car sliding. Look how close he's going to get to the wall at the apex of 7. That was pretty close. Good man, Jake Dennis. Into Turn 8, a very late apex. He's going to clip the wall quite late. Yesterday, he literally clipped the wall. Down the brakes now, into 9. Got to get off here well, because it's quite long straight up to 11. He left a bit of a margin there, Jake. Through 10. This braking zone in 11 caught a lot of people out yesterday. Is he close to the wall? This car looks very nice, and we see him at work with the amount of steering inputs. And this is it's one of those laps just driving within the limits, and that's what it takes to go fast. Through 13. See how much speed he carries into 14. He carries a lot of entry speed, slows it down through the middle, back to throttle. Stay out wide as long as he can before cutting back across, getting close to the grass. Small slides. There you go, for the catch of oversteer. Now the run to the line. You're looking, putting his head down. He said yesterday he should have ducked down further. He thought he'd have got pole. Good lap.
Ducking your head down doesn't actually do anything in a Formula car, right? Okay.
No, they actually prefer you to put your head back because it can keep
really?
the shape of the headrest. Certain formulas.
Interesting.
Apparently.
Is that a big old secret?
Used to be. Now they've got the aero screen.
Super pole about to get underway, and Edoardo Mortara is going to be the first driver out. The Swiss racer, Italian Swiss if we want to be precise, who was on the podium yesterday. We've got the Pride flags there on the side of the headrest supporting Pride Month, the Rocket Venturi team. And Edo looking for another good race, and apparently he was really sort of in control of the race yesterday. The team was saying do this or do that, and he said no, let's be patient, let's the result come to us. And I don't know the specifics of exactly what that discussion was about, but whether it was not fighting the Audis or something, I don't know. But he was very calm and assured and thought with his head, which is, he's a very passionate man, Mortara.
Exactly right. We've seen that, and if he can do that, that's worrying for the opposition, because he's in a rich vein of form right now. You see Pascal Airlines in the Porsche garage,
and they're of course running the Mercedes EQ powertrain, different software, differences, but we have seen how strong that car can be. Here we go. This is Pascal Airlines Lap down towards turn 1,
and he's looking for the smoothest part to brake. You saw the car jolting to the right as he did that, as he braked. Don't use all the road and exit. Neat, tidy. Getting close to the wall as you possibly can now. Through here, you're setting up immediately for the braking into 4. You heard the chirp of the tyre. Back to throttle. No real wheel spin, just right at the end when he was still turning quite hard and accelerating. The car doesn't want to turn and accelerate or brake and turn at the same time either. Let's see how close he gets to the wall. Whoa, very close to the wall in 7. This corner turn 8 is very slippery on a slippery track. You see the rear just sliding a little bit. Close to the wall 9. Just that right at the end of the corner, just a slight bit of over rotation with the car into 11. Early turn-in.
Yeah.
But it definitely worked for him. Again, another blind corner. You got to almost wait till you see the exit before you go to full throttle. And this is where multiple laps really help you to become familiar with the circuit. Again, carry the entry speed, slow it down through the middle. Carried good mid-corner speed too, and back to the throttle with authority. Let's see what the Porsche looks like through the last corner. What that one snap as it bottoms. You heard the car bottom, and that caused a snap of oversteer. And there you go.
So Wehrlein will be heading out in a couple of moments' time as he gets ready, having set pole position yesterday, and he won't. Well, he's got a chance at starting on pole again today. But Edoardo Mortara will be the first driver out on track, and we'll see what the Rocket Venturi driver can do.
It's a different preparation now, because again the tyres are warm, so it's going to be a different preparation than you would have done on your group qualifying lap for Super Bowl, just taking it very, very easily. Don't try and put any load and any temperature through the tyre if that's what you feel. You hear him warming up the brakes. I guess you want to warm the carcass of the tyre, but you don't want to warm the surface if you can help it.
No pole positions in his Formula E career. Edoardo Mortara has a front row start in Hong Kong a few years ago, and 2 podium finishes this season. Now he would love to secure a pole
Did you see the weeper there? He went through a little, there was a wet spot on the circuit. Yeah, there's a little bit of moisture coming through. It rained a lot last night and the night before. Probably the night before that too.
Yeah, and that was a big problem for Group 1 yesterday. Less so today because although it did rain last night, they felt not as much as the night before, so it wouldn't have been quite as much of a disadvantage, but still not ideal.
No, that's the first time I've actually seen the car react to it. All right, the lap's about to start, so he's turned it up to full power, 250 kilowatts. Now he's waiting, he just wants to prepare, he doesn't have to. It's all about the exit of this corner. Throw away the entry, get back to the throttle as hard as you can, as early as you can to carry the speed. And you actually want to be able to maybe even just wait a second so you can run flat out through this turn 15.
Right, here comes Eduardo Mortara then in the Venturi. He's the first driver of the 6 to run in Superpole. And the quickest of these 6 will start on pole position for the Puebla E-Prix. Oh, a little wide.
He got wide in 1, and that might not affect him here because the right-hand side is the unloaded side. Let's see what happens when he turns into 4, though. Oh, big slide from the front end of the apex, but managed to gather it back up for the exit. First split's coming up. He's a bit ginger through there, coming up to turn 7 now.
Oh, right up to the wall. His first sector split it's okay, but it's always difficult to use the first lap as a bench. Well, the first lap becomes the benchmark really because it's different circumstances, different track conditions.
Again, neat and tidy. Jackie Stewart would have been proud of that corner as he brakes for turn 11. Yeah, it's a much earlier turn-in. I think the drivers have discovered a little earlier turn-in gets them into 11. Setting up for 12 now.
Middle sector isn't great. It's about 4/10 slower than what would be a really good middle sector in the group qualifying sessions.
And by this point, the tyres are absolutely screaming, and then you're going to ask one last massive effort from them as you go through turn 15. Bit of bottoming out, but it didn't change the trajectory of the car. Comes to the line.
Mortara does a 1 minute 23.886 then, so that would have only put him 13th quickest in the group qualifying sessions, but those lap times are irrelevant now.
Yeah, the worst he can start is P6.
And this is what we were talking about at turn 1, when you'll see him just go through all the kind of muck on the right-hand side here. Just only a tiny bit.
It only takes a tiny bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It just and that might not have affected his lap. That might be actually what he wanted to do. So he comes through 4. You see the car bucking around. Actually, that's sorry, 14 as it bucked around as it got onto the oval. That's turn 4 in the super slow-mo. Actually, the car kept a nice trajectory, nice and tight line. The sun is still beating down. There's not much cloud cover. There's a snap of oversteer. You saw the front tyres come back to the right.
Jerome D'Ambrosio at the back there, winner in Mexico. And now there's Emil Lindsay, boss of the Porsche team that are now seeing Pascal Wehrlein start his flying lap. Gets down nice and low, comes over the start-finish straight, timing line. Clock starts running. Into 1.
Yeah, neat tidy on the brakes into 1. No drama so far. Yeah, a little bit of understeer on the exit of 2. We haven't seen that yet. How does it rotate through 4? Good entry speed into 4 for Pascal Wehrlein. Gave up a little bit in the middle. Back to throttle and exit.
First sector split comes here just after this left-hander of turn 6, and he's 2/10 up on Eduardo Mortara. Oh, that looks... Oh, I thought he was going wide there.
That was all the road from Pascal Wehrlein. Let's see how he gets out of turn 8. We've seen some snaps of oversteer from other people. Beautiful out there. The Porsche putting the power down ever so well. Similar story. You didn't see any snapped oversteer at the very exit of the corner. Car's looking good. Heavy braking. He slightly later turning for Pascal allows him to commit to the throttle a bit earlier than the opposition. Maybe gave up a little bit on entry, but he's nearly 4/10 up right now on Edo Mortara. Through 13. Bit of oversteer on the exit. Now this is the key corner. Get the car set up to get back to throttle. Bit wide possibly, but if he was able to keep the momentum up, it looked good.
Pascal Wehrlein, pole position yesterday. Oh, looks a bit wide there as he comes through the final corner at 15 across the line, and he goes quickest, but only by a 10th Lost a lot in that final corner.
I wonder if he had to breathe it. He got up into the marbles, and there's only two options there: get off the throttle or hit the wall. He chose the first, definitely more sensible option.
So that's a big time loss. 0.3 of a second to Eduardo Mortara in the final sector. That could be a sort of crucial-ish mistake for from Pascal Wehrlein in terms of how far up the grid he starts, because it was a sort of a real clear and obvious error right up to the line there. But here, look, he's up in all this rubbish.
Yeah, and you don't want to be there. That's like ice. And the fact he kept it out of the wall, I think, means he probably lifted at that point. God, he's all over the curb in turn 4, though, isn't he? And look at the way that the car is absorbing the bumps. The damper department done a very good job there at Porsche to keep the tyres in contact with the ground when it's bouncing over the curbs.
Gilbert Gill, team principal of the Mahindra racing team, watching Alex Lynn. Coming through the final corner now to start his flying lap. Lynn started 3rd on the grid in Valencia. Well, he was made super pole in both of the Valencia races. 9th on the grid in Monaco, but Valencia was certainly his best performance of the season in terms of qualifying. And we'll see what he can do here.
Car dancing around on the brakes into turn 1. Lost a bit of time in 4 right in the middle. Whether that allows him to get a good exit. The exit looked very good, but how much time did he lose through the centre of that corner?
400s up on Wehrlein. Not too bad at all from Lynn.
He's through 7. Look how gently he turns the car into the 8, gets it rotated through the apex. The Mahindra rotated very well through these hairpins this morning. The front of the car turned well. Similar story in 9. Through the kink in 10. Now you're looking, as a driver, you're looking for the apex wall to try and perfect your braking point. Good in 11 as well. Coming up to that next split. 12. It's one of those easy corners to make a mistake, but he used all the road. He's a 10th off though.
But Wehrlein was not strong in the final sector. So here we go, on board with Lynn through the left-hander of 13, the huge sweeping corner that takes him back out onto the banking.
Let's see if he can keep it within the boundaries. Get right down in towards the grass, feather in the throttle, back to it.
Looks a lot neater that for Alex Lynn, the Mahindra driver. Oh, only goes 2nd, 500ths away. So maybe Mortara's final sector was mega, because I really thought that Lynn looked neat and tidy and was going to pip him there.
Yeah, you got to say it. I think through probably 13, maybe a bit of time lost through 13.
But provisionally 2nd on the grid. Vern, Roland and Dennis to come. Was there a slide on the exit here?
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't think that was big enough. It's how much throttle did he carry through this section? This looked neat and tidy, a little bit of bottoming out, but it's how much did he have to feather the throttle? Look how close he gets right across the grass. That's precision driving. Whether the time loss was through the final corner or the 2 corners preceding it.
Jean-Eric Verne is next up in the DS Techeetah. 4th on the grid in the last 2 races for Mark Preston's man. And you can see him just coming through the final corner now. There he is, Jean-Eric Verne, in the black and gold car. And here he comes.
Yeah, again, late to throttle, probably to allow him to go flat out through the corner. Bit of puff of smoke as the car bottomed out. Jean-Eric, very good job in qualifying since he came to Formula E all those seasons ago. You see him on the left of your screen as he brakes for turn 1.
11 pole positions in his Formula E career, Jean-Eric Verne. Now through the right-hander of 2, which then goes into 3.
Oh, he really carried entry speed and diamonded the corner, went out wide and back in, but right at the exit of the corner, back of the car broke away.
First sector for Verne. 400ths down on Wehrlein.
There was no obvious loss of time, so let's see how maybe he's taken a little bit easy in that first sector to make the tyres live for the rest of the lap. A very late apex through 9. Remember, this is in the middle of the car, right on the tip of the nose, so if you see him missing the apex, he's probably getting it with the wheel, not with the nose. If he gets it with the nose, we've got bigger problems, I would say.
Right, here comes Verne through the middle sector now. The Frenchman is 700ths down on Wehrlein, but again, I'm going to do that final sector caveat. If he can match Mortara's final sector, he can go to provisional pole.
And he had a bobble through the middle of 13. Is it going to cost him?
Through the long left-hander of turn 13 and out onto the banking comes Jean-Eric Verne. He started 4th the last 2 races. Can he do any better than that this afternoon here in Puebla? Verne across the line. 4th, would you believe it? But with 2 to run, lost a lot of time in the final sector compared to Mortara.
Yeah, I think it was that slide, wasn't it, in 13. We've seen a lot of people carrying entry speed there, but you've got to have something to lean on when you get there, and the back tyres just protesting, just not enough grip.
This was Verne coming through turn 1.
Yeah, he kept it very neat, didn't he? Kept it on the first part of the tarmac.
And this was the moment.
There you go. Yeah, oh yeah, that cost him a lot of time. You have to recover from that, get the tyre back under you. Look good through here. A slight move. You see the bottomed out a bit, but you saw the correction from the front tyres, but not massive. I think it was, for my money, it was turn 13.
Alex Lynn, under investigation, technical infraction.
I'll tell you what, the FIA are busy this weekend, aren't they?
They are keen. They're keen.
They're definitely keen. Let's see Oliver Rowland. How keen is he going to be?
He's always keen.
Yeah, he's done some great.
Sometimes too keen.
Yeah, fair. But he's driving well. Oh, he got onto, you heard the pinging of the stones underneath the right-hand side wheel arches. Did it cost him time, though? He got out really wide and won.
Get his first sector split over Rowland, who started 2nd on the grid yesterday. Hugs the inside of 6th. The car, he has so much he's over a 10th down in sector 1.
And terrible turn 7. Oversteer into turn 8.
The car is always leaning with Rowland.
Neat and tidy, they managed to get it slowed out of 9 up to 10. The helicopter view.
Rowland down into the left-hander of turn 11.
And when he looks down, he sees he's down, but he's now up 28.8 through the second sector. He's 1/4 of a 10th up. But you look down, you see that. You've got to start taking some more risks to try and close that gap, and he's done that very, very well.
Good through 13, now into 14.
Nice through 14.
Like he was on rails on the inside.
Very nice through 14, Jack. Back end's sliding around already, so it's going to be a bit of an adventure the rest of the corner.
Rowland's getting loose. What's his lap time? Up towards the timing beam. It's provisional pole position by 2/10. Wow. After a poor first sector, he's on provisional pole, and it will be a front row start again for Oliver Rowland.
Fantastic end to that lap.
Wow. Through the Tommaso Volpe on the left in the white shirt, enjoyed that one. So 7, this is it here, not good.
Nah, just watch. Look, the understeers. Did he actually clip the wall? He's out wide, he's on the dirt. Yeah, well, it wasn't his best first sector I've ever seen. Wow, just on the dirt though. I take that back. I mean, that was pretty mega. This was impressive. 13 and 14. He did such a good job. The Nissan handling very well.
It went so early.
Yeah, he probably got back a bit more throttle than the others and then backed off mid-corner, but very good. Francois Sicard in the picture there. Oh, Roger Griffiths now, team principal BMW Andretti, watching his man, Jake Dennis.
Looking for his 2nd pole position, Jake Dennis in Formula E. Managed to climb up to 10th in the standings after his 5th place finish yesterday. And he gets on the brakes 150 metres or so before the first corner.
Car braked ever so well. There was no lockups. Neat and tidy through 1. Whether that translates into lap time, time will tell. A little bit of oversteer through 2. Oh, very good through 4. Oh no, he's made a mistake on exit though. Has it cost him time? Let's find out. The first timing split is coming up.
And he is up by a 10.5, so he's pretty much matched Lynn and Verline in sector 1, but can he match Rowland over the next 2 sectors? Because that was where Rowland gained all of his time.
Braking for 9. Again, when it's no drama, it doesn't look exciting, but that's when the lap time comes through the kink. Turn 10.
Unless you're Roland, I swear.
Has he got it into the apex?
Wow.
Well done. Managed to control that lockup. And you might think, oh, it's going to flat spot the tyre. This is not a slick tyre. This is an all-conditioned tyre, has tread. They're very robust.
But he's 3/10 down. It's all out of shape here, and I think this will be 6th for Dennis.
I think he hit one of the wet weepers as well, the water coming up. I saw a flick of spray when he got a little bit wide. So that doubled the issue.
So here comes Jake Dennis through the final corner. Comes across the timing beam, and the BMW driver does remain 6th quickest. So Oliver Rowland has his 4th career pole position. It's another pole position for the EDAMS team as well. Delight all round. They started 2nd yesterday. Technical problems meant Rowland just dropped away down the order. But it is another pole for EDAMS. They're 21st in Formula E. And Dennis was there in Sector 1, but it just started to slip away. But it'll be Rowland and Verline on the front row again. Here's Jake Dennis's lock-up into 11. But of course, there is Alex Lynn under investigation for a technical infraction. And what I will say is one team principal, I won't name who, because it felt a bit off the record. He said, if it comes up on the screen, technical infraction, oh, you're done. You're disqualified, don't bother. You might as well pit and box the car and save the tyres if you're in the race. But we'll see. Obviously, it depends what happens, but that's what some of the teams feel when they see that technical infractionment, whatever, out there. There's Rowland, pole position. He's going for this beard. I think it's a new kind of beard look, isn't it, for Rowland? Correct me if I'm wrong. Hashtag Puebla E-Prix, but I think this beard look is new. And it's pole position. So the same front row as yesterday, but in the other way round. Oliver Rowland will start on pole position. Pascal Airlines 2nd, Alexander Lynn 3rd, but under investigation. Mortara 4th, Vern 5th, Dennis 6th. Sebastian Buemi 7th, so again Nissan 1st and 7th. Nick Cassidy, Tom Blomqvist, Andre Losser are completing the top 10. Then the championship leaders. France will start 21st. He's at the top of the standings. De Costa is 2nd, he'll start 22nd. De Vries is 3rd, he'll start 19th. René Rast is 4th, he'll start 24th. We're in for a real mixed up championship order once we leave here. And New York is the next race in just a couple of weeks' time. But let's hear from our pole sitter. Oliver Rowland will be starting at the front of the grid for the Puebla E-Prix.
Well, Oliver Rowland, huge congratulations. Pole position, certainly starting off making amends for yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been fast all week. You know, we've never been out the top 3 in free practice. Yesterday was 2nd on the grid, and unfortunately we had an issue with the car at the start, but it's nice to be back up the front today and have another shot at it.
And the issues that you suffered on the start of the grid yesterday, are they all ironed out?
I hope so. We had an issue with one of the looms. Basically, it broke basically the antenna that relays all the information back to the team. So hopefully we don't have any of those troubles today, and we can get off the line and have a good race.
Well, the pace has been incredible. I'd actually now like to introduce Louis Marinae. He's going to present you with your Julius Baer Pole Position trophy. He is the head of Mexico at Julius Baer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And he's delighted with that, isn't he? And we'll see what he can do from the front of the grid. Has won a race in the past, Oliver Rowland. Just the one in Berlin last year. On a very strong day for the Nissan EDAMS team. And, well, he's got 35 points. Well, I'll do my maths later. Let's go back down to Nicky.
Pascal Airlines, another front row start here in Mexico. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This time, though, Oliver Rowland's ahead of you. Will you be able to take him at the first turn?
Let's see, you know, even if you finish the race here, it doesn't mean that you will stay there. So as we saw yesterday, yeah, qualifying was again good. The car was pretty nice to drive, good progress since free practice this morning. I wasn't too happy with the car. And yeah, now we just switched position, Ollie and me, from yesterday to today.
let's see what happens in the race.
And obviously, in light of what happened yesterday, how fired up are you ahead of today's race?
I just take it as every race. I try to do my best, extract the maximum out of the car and myself, and then let's see.
All right, thanks very much, Pascal Airlines.
Second place on the grid then for Pascal Airlines. Pole position yesterday in the Porsche. Another front row start. After a strong season, really, qualifying-wise for Airlines. He was second on the grid in Diriyah, third on the grid in Rome. Pole yesterday and second today. Let's catch up with Alex Lim.
Well, Alex Lynn, congratulations starting from P3, but you've got two pretty determined drivers ahead of you. Will you be able to take them?
Well, I'm very determined as well, Nikki. I don't know what you're on about.
This is very true.
I think there's 24 determined individuals in this. But no, I think oh, yeah, we'll see.
Given, yesterday's race, how much have you learned from that? How much can you use that ahead of today's race?
I think we learned a lot, so we'll see. Got long race, tyre deck's pretty high, so we'll see.
All right, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Well, you saw the graphic pop up there, 6th place for Alex Lim. We saw that technical infraction. It looks to me, at the timing screens, as though his Super Pole lap time has been deleted. So I think Alex Lim will start from 6th on the grid, and it'll actually be Edo Mortara that will start 3rd. Well, we'll get to the bottom of exactly what that was for or why that was for, but the evidence looks to suggest that Lin has been excluded from Super Pole, but not from the qualifying session. So whether he left the pit lane too late or something along those lines, we will, as ever, do our best to get to the bottom of the decisions that come at us. Roland then will start on pole, Verline second, Mortara third, Vern, Dennis and Lin will be the top 6 on the grid. And Oliver Rowland, if he wins the race today, will suddenly be second in the championship, level on points with Antonio Felix da Costa. So there you can see it, Alex Lin, no time for the Mahindra team, dropped down to 6th position, but it will be Rowland starting on pole, Verline second, the championship leaders all the way down at the back. There's a real chance that Oliver Rowland could be second in the standings by the end of today. In fact, no, he could be top, because of course he got points for taking pole position as well. What a race we're in for later.
Yeah, I haven't killed anyone yet today.
I'm joined by Alejandro Agay, the chairman of Formula E. Alejandro, we saw you at the end of yesterday's race, very animated in your opinions, very animated in what you thought about the decision to disqualify Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche.
Yes, I'm very animated because I love racing. I love a real race. I saw a fantastic show by Porsche and Pascal, and I was unhappy with them not winning. But this is racing. If you know how many times, how we call it, bad things happen, it's racing.
How do we fix this going forward so this type of stuff doesn't happen, so the people watching the race at home see a guy win the race and then see what happened yesterday, Alejandro?
We learn lessons. We're learning all the time. Actually, the thing here is to apologize to the fans because they don't know what happened. I had my kids calling, they were watching the race and they said, why didn't he win the race? And I said, well, because they didn't register the tires. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
So we need to learn lessons. We need to, this one is simple. Let's check before we go racing that everybody has filled the correct tires, and that's it.
It's really difficult to understand because at Formula E we're always welcoming in new viewers. We're very open, and it's difficult to understand because what happened didn't affect his performance. We spoke about it earlier on, and that's what's so difficult to comprehend, to understand.
So now you understand why I was so angry yesterday. I wanted to, kill somebody. Luckily I didn't.
That's the most angry I've ever seen you. How much effort did it take to put on this show at Puebla? Obviously we had the problem with Mexico City track being used for COVID stuff. How much effort was it to put on this amazing show?
We do a huge effort to come here. We've done, the teams have done a Formula E an amazing job putting together this race. COVID in the middle, million hurdles. So, it tastes bad that at the end you have something like this happening. But, it's racing. We have another race today. Porsche and Nissan have done great laps. They're fighting, so we have another great race. Let's forget yesterday and focus on the race today.
There may be an element of redemption, but we move on to New York, which is always a fantastic venue, Alejandro.
Yeah, very excited for New York, and the US is quite open. So I think we're going to have back to normal.
And what about the championship fight? It's so open, isn't it? Halfway through the season.
Championship fight is great this time. We have so many drivers that can make it, but this is racing. This is Formula E, unpredictable. We love it.
Alejandro, it's always a pleasure. We love your energy. Don't stop.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
That's all
we'll
I can
keep
say.
getting angry for
Don't
sure.
stop.
We'll see me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, Alejandro. There you go. Cheers, boss. The main man of Formula E, and what a vision he's created. And he's obviously done it as well for Extreme E, and now we're going into electric powerboating as well. But here we go, a powerhouse himself, Oliver Rowland. Congratulations.
Thank you. I kind of needed that a little bit after yesterday, to be honest, but really, really pleased. The car's been amazing all week. The team have done a great job, so I'm very happy.
Was it difficult for you guys to pick yourselves up after yesterday's disqualifications?
It was. I mean, it's not only that, you know, we had the issues on the grid with had two separate issues. So the start one was more of a software issue, so I couldn't get off the start. Then I had no communication with the car, so you kind of finish the race and you get disqualified and you just think it was just one of those days. We have to draw a line under it and go again tomorrow, and that's what we've done.
And what was going on with the attack mode? You were going through attack mode, it wasn't registering. Was that all linked to the same thing?
It actually wasn't, and it's quite a funny story. But I had it in the safety car scenario.
Right.
Because I didn't have any radios, I went to that scenario and I forgot to go back. But it doesn't give you the power, so I activated it and I didn't get the power. So I thought I didn't get it. So I kept trying, but obviously I'd activated it twice, so it was not letting me.
Yeah, but you're competing on your own yesterday, where all these other drivers have got teams of engineers telling them what to do. So great recovery to do the work. That was a magic lap, right, and looked under control, but on the absolute limit.
Well, that's the thing, obviously, with the heat, I wasn't sure. We went with a little bit more front end, and after the groups, I knew it was a mistake because I struggled with the tyres, especially at the end of the lap. So I knew that I had to kind of go a bit steadier in the first sector, and it would come to me towards the end, and it's exactly what happened, and I think we did a great job.
Yesterday on the grid, Pascal mentioned that he was looking forward to going head-to-head with yourself because it reminded him of the days in karting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Pascal. I think he's a great guy as well, so, you know, hopefully we can put on a great show today, and hopefully we'll have the pace to try and stretch it like he did yesterday.
It's going to be a bit weird watching you race at the front, Oliver, in a way, and I apologise for... No, I apologise for saying that. I don't mean the fact that you've not been there before, but you're the kind of driver that loves fighting his way through, and you've got clean air in front of you.
Absolutely. I mean, I've started on pole once before, or actually 4 times before, and once I won, so... you know, hopefully today I can just have a clean race and show my pace and my rhythm. You know, Formula E, it's not often you get to start on the front row, to be honest. The amount of the level of drivers is extremely high, so 2 days in a row is fantastic, and hopefully today we can make it count.
Well done, Oliver, and thank you very much. I look
you.
forward to seeing you later. Let's bring in Jake Dennis. Come on, Jake. One of the tallest drivers in the grid, which as a 6-foot footer is always a joy to see. Welcome, pal. Once again, it was a good qualifying session because you got into Super Pole, but just talk us through what happened. We spoke earlier on off camera and you said you just give it too much and it didn't respond.
Yeah, it just slipped away from us. You know, we had a really competitive sector 1. Car was feeling good, but then I went into turn 8 and I could already feel the rear struggling. And then went into 11, locked the left front.
And then some.
Yeah.
Decent lock.
I somehow made the apex. I thought I was going to make friends with the wall, but and then turn 13 I just went wide and I just hit the wet patch. There's a wet patch coming through the surface, and I just hit that and lost everything. So, a bit of a shame, but honestly, I'm pretty pleased. You know, we had a great lap in qualifying, and then Super Pole. Starting 6th, we can still easily try and get a podium and try and win this race.
The balance in group qualifying looked phenomenal. The way we were able to put the power down, does that bode well for the race this afternoon?
Yeah, I think we've improved the car, especially in the race. Free practice this morning, I spent a lot of time just doing energy running, and yesterday there was there's no hiding that we struggled. And
so what you did today in free practice was a result of what happened yesterday, because you guys dropped off, especially Max.
Yeah, exactly. I think we just weren't fast enough yesterday. We were too slow around the corners and just over-consumed. And today we've really tried to improve the package in free practice, and I think we've done that so we can try and, you know, take the fight to these Porsches and the Audis who were sensational yesterday. So I'm confident. I'd rather be starting 6th, knowing I've got a better car than yesterday, than 3rd. So yeah, I'm happy.
All right, brilliant, Jake. Thank you very much.
Jake.
Let's bring in Pascal, the man who you're hoping to go head-to-head with. Pascal, welcome. How do we approach this one? How are you feeling after yesterday? Is all that in the past now? Put the car in Super Pole, 2nd on the grid, put it in the bin, move forward. Let's hope we can get some redemption.
Yeah, today was again a good day. Proven again to be quick. So yeah, looking forward to the race. I just try to focus on myself, forget about yesterday, and there's still a lot going on in the background at the moment. So I just try to filter that out and yeah, focus.
Even some of the teams that benefited from your misfortune yesterday said it was completely wrong. You dominated the race. It was a phenomenal performance. It's good to see you bounce back today. How different are track conditions from what you were dealing with yesterday?
Yeah, today is quite different because it's a lot hotter. It's a lot harder for the tires. And yeah, you struggle more with the rear of the car, especially from mid to end of the lap. Yeah, we did some small changes from free practice to now, because in free practice I wasn't really happy. And yeah, that paid out.
Pascal, thank you very much. And also, thank you for airing your opinions on social media. I think that's really important that we know how you're feeling and how passionate and what it means to you and the team that something so ridiculous or something sounding so ridiculous can have a massive effect on you guys at Porsche. And yeah, I just want to say appreciate that, and we get it. Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
Pascal,
Well
thank you very much. A couple of things I want to pick up on you quickly, just quickly. Both drivers there, Jake and Pascal, mentioned how important free practice was. What do they do in free practice, and then how do they assess that and then put it forward into qualifying in the race?
Well, they look at where they were weak yesterday, they go out and try and change it today and go, yeah, that was actually better. We'll do that for the race, we'll do that for qualifying. And yeah, it's so any lap you can do, Vernon, is so important. And yet again, we saw that today. Different track conditions. Pascal said it's so warm. Tyre wear is going to be even more critical today.
Yeah, okay, well, Jack and Nikki are at the other end of the pit lane. Let's go and join those guys.
Yes, we are indeed. Jack's actually ran here from the commentary box. He's slightly out of breath.
I haven't even put my ears in yet.
But also joining us is the driver at the top of the standings at the moment, Robin Frines.
My run here was quicker than Robin's qualifying lap, I think.
Ouch. Harsh.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, but who are you going to blame now for your slow quali lap?
Group 1, basically. I mean, it's kind of a mess when you go out and you try to create a gap, and nobody wants to go first because you're cleaning the track, basically. And yeah, it's just to create a free gap for your push lap. It's just not possible, really.
Antonio said yesterday he's like not even angry anymore because it is what it is. Do you feel this? You're not sort of deflated. This is what happens.
No, because everybody's in the same boat, basically. René went off in front of me twice, basically, and hold me up. But that's also what it is. If I do a mistake myself, like, for example, yesterday, I'll be really angry with myself. But there's a mechanical failure on the car or stuff like that, which is out of my hands. It's racing, unfortunately.
So you're starting pretty much down the back of the grid, I think, P21. What is realistic? Can you finish in the points? I mean, we saw like the likes of Stoffel Van Dorn yesterday. I think he climbed from 21 to 7th on the grid. So it's doable.
Exactly. I mean, before everything basically went downhill for me in the race, I was in front of Stoffel. So I hit Nick and then I got a drive-through penalty. So if I didn't do my mistake, I would finish technically in front of Stoffel in the race. So I think everything is possible. You just need to do attack modes well, not do any mistakes, and then we'll see how it goes.
Great. Thank you very much, Robert. Enjoy the race this afternoon. It's so tough, isn't it, for the top 6 in the championship when they're trying to gain progress. And if Oliver Rowland wins the race today, he'll be at the top of the championship. I think that's the remarkable thing, because he's just picked up 3 points for taking pole position, 25 points for the race win. He'll have more than Robin Frines. And then we'll get to New York City, and he'll be in Group 1, and then the whole thing starts over again.
But that's, I guess, what keeps this competition alive, which is why it does really go right down to the wire up until those last couple of races of the season. I mean, it is quite different to last year. I think at this point in the season last year, Antonio Felix da Costa had double the amount of points. But as we've said, year on year, Formula E does get more competitive, and the areas where you can make those gains are just becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, which is why, we're seeing the likes of, Venturi, for example, who we wouldn't necessarily have seen on the podium, and now making massive gains. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's really exciting for us.
I mean, da Costa last year, at this point, he had double the amount of points, but he had double the amount of points of anyone else as well. And I think that was the key. They learned how to get out of the first group of qualifying. They learned to get into Superpole and destroy everybody else. And that's what really someone needs to do in this championship this year,
But don't you think, despite all of what's going on in qualifying, it is amazing to see the same 2 drivers on the front of the grid? Have we seen that on 2 consecutive races this season?
I don't know.
You know everything, Jack.
I know, but I haven't got my stat book. I have.
Oh yeah, I forget you got all your notes. Right. Well, on that note, Vernon, we better go back to you. Jack's going to get a stack pack.
Oh, no. You kind of threw him under the bus there a little bit, Nicky. Jack is powerless without his stat book, it seems. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's not true. He is Mr. Formula E. As are you, Dario.
Jack remembers things a lot better than I do. He's a lot less hits to the head. And he's good at multitasking too.
Well, you've hit more concrete walls than he has.
That's for sure.
Let's talk about DS Techeetah, because I've got a feeling now, with where the table is at the moment prior to this race, that we haven't really spoken about them enough. We haven't really spoken about them a lot. They've got Jeb, they've got Antonio Felix da Costa. Let's not forget Jeb is a back-to-back champion. Antonio's our reigning champion. I think there's something coming out of the shade with that team.
Yeah, well, they're very good. They're as good as any team in this championship, so certainly don't count them out. But we did a sort of a season summary or a half-season summary, and you're thinking, where are the weak spots? There's so many teams could win the drivers or the team's championship at this point, which is why we love it.
Talk us through today's race, Dario, because we saw yesterday that the BMW boys just slid away. They don't have the race pace. They've tried to improve it. We talked about what assessments you have to do in free practice and then the adjustments. How as a team do you go into this knowing that you may not have race pace? Do you just kind of suck it up and say, oh, well, that's us?
No, you're trying to fix it right up until you head out pit lane.
What do you mean by fix it? What are they looking at?
They're changing the mechanical setup of the cars, the roll bars, the springs, the ride heights, the rake of the car. You're changing all the electronic systems on the powertrain allows you to do. You might even be changing the weight in the car where it sits to help the car rotate around the corner. But what you're trying to do, you're trying to carry momentum through the corner. And if you can't carry momentum through the corner, you have to overconsume because you have to get back to the throttle earlier, all that sort of stuff. And that's just a vicious spiral, as Jake Dennis alluded to.
And also, it's going to be a hot day. Batteries don't like heat.
Yeah, it's going to be hotter. It's going to be more difficult on the tyres. I cannot wait.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. It's going to be a special race. Remember, this is our second race here at Puebla. We started yesterday, a little bit of controversy. We've covered that today, and it's going to be really special. It's not going to rain like it did at the back end of yesterday's race, but Dario, let's have your prediction quickly.
I have no idea, and that's what I love it. But I think it's going to be somebody from the top 6.
All right, well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Formula E. Let's find out who does become victory, or takes victory later on.
And we go green in Puebla. And he's hit it, and they make contact. Oh, don't believe it. Oh, that was a mad move. This just feels like it's bubbling.
Push. Yeah, I can say. What a race!